Pastor Matthew Stuckey here, and in this video I want to explain to you Philemon chapter 1 verse 2. The Bible reads in Philemon 1 verse 2, "And to our beloved Apphia and Archippus, our fellow soldier, and to the church in thy house." At the end of verse 2 it mentions the church in thy house. And so the Bible is actually stating that the church that they had was not meeting at a physical building, but it was actually inside somebody's house. Now, the Bible actually highlights this a lot of churches that meet in the house, and there's many reasons why a church in a house would actually be a good thing. One of those is financial practicality. It costs money to rent commercial real estate, and of course, when you're a new church, you're not going to have the tithes and offerings coming in to necessarily pay for a building unless you have a lot of members. And so especially as you're starting a smaller church, and you maybe only have a few families or a few people, or you just start from scratch, you're not going to have the finances to build a building. It just wouldn't be financially practical with just very few people when you're still able to meet inside of a house and not have those bills. There's also variance of attendance. When a new church starts, maybe you have 20 people that are excited from day one, but the reality is that you will not have all 20 of those people at the church a year or two down the road, because some of those people might turn out to be bad. Some people might turn out not to be dedicated. There's a lot of people that will say that they can't wait for a church to start. They're going to be the most loyal and dedicated member. And when that church starts, they're very rarely there. They never show up for soul winning. They never show up for the programs of the church. And it turns out they're not that dedicated. Of course, another advantage of a church in a house, which would have been very practical back then, is persecution against the church. If a church is meeting in the house, it is free to say whatever it wants. It doesn't have to worry about a landlord that will kick them out for something that takes place. And of course, back in those days, you would not have really been free to just say whatever you want. There would have been a lot of persecution, and in a lot of countries and a lot of places, that still takes place today. So there's many advantages of a church meeting in the house, and that is the method that we've done for starting various churches that we've had. We often just meet in a house. It just makes the most sense. But the wrong perspective would be that churches should always be in the house. Obviously, you can reach a point where a house is just not big enough to have a lot of people at church. When I think of our church in Manila, it's just, too big of a church to meet in a house. It just wouldn't be practical. And we have the finances due to the tithes that come in. So it makes sense to actually have a physical building. You can outgrow it. So that doesn't mean a church should always meet in the house. But another takeaway we can have is that when it comes to what a church is, it's not about having a fancy building. What it's about is the people. The people make up the church. So whether or not you're meeting inside of a commercial building or meeting at somebody's house, or whether or not you're meeting in a park, it doesn't change the fact that that is still a bona fide church, because church is about the people. Anyways, thank you and God bless.